Did I tell you that I almost had a heart attack?
No.
Yeah.
Did you also drink a monster without going to sleep or eating?
Yeah, I did. And that was for art classes. I really enjoyed that, though.
Having a heart attack?
No. Having a heart attack scared me.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the... what episode is this?
Shit, I don't know.
Okay, we're in the tens now.
We're in the this many.
We're in the this.
Magical Bro. Are we on the 14th?
Are we really?
14, yeah. Okay.
Wow.
So, welcome to the Magical Bro Transformation Podcast, episode 14. Woo! We made it, guys. I'm so proud of us. Joining me this week is going to be the usual people, Mike, Juan, and special man, Mando. Just
So special.
so special. He just got back from a 3-hour trip from San Antonio, and we made him get on here. But before I get going, I should mention they're going to start releasing the shows on Tuesdays as opposed to Mondays because it's just so much better for my work schedule, and I don't have to stay up until like 2 or 3 in the morning trying to get this out and editing and shit. So this will be the first episode that's going to be out on a Tuesday. Yeah, since we don't have that many people listening, I don't think it'll affect people that much, but we'll see. We're available on Stitcher Radio, on Google Play, iTunes, SoundCloud, and anywhere else on the internet that gets links through those 4 things that I just mentioned. But if you're new to the podcast, what we usually do is watch an anime, review it, and discuss it, and usually riddle everything with spoilers because, you can't really talk about something if you don't talk about the things that happen.
Yeah.
And this week's anime is going to be Death Note.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which was a kind of a special thing for us because we usually try and stick to things that are anywhere from 12 episodes to usually 26 episodes. But because Death Note fell on our laps, we decided to take the 2 extra weeks and do a little in-between thing, a little in-between OVA. And now we're on here.
Yay!
Yes, we are.
So Death Note started. Well, it started as a manga. I don't necessarily remember when it started being published as a manga. I just know that it was syndicated in Shonen Jump, and then eventually they made an anime of it, and that started in 2006 and aired until 2007. And I think Adult Swim picked it up in 2007, and it ended in 2008 or something like that. But if you've never heard of Death Note, I can only assume that you're like 12, because this thing's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And considering that there's, even now, they're making, like Netflix is making a new live action movie, which just so happened to get announced officially through Netflix after we aired like our last episode when we picked Death Note. Yeah. But aside from this anime, there's also 2 animated movies, 3 live action series, Japanese live action TV series, and a stage musical.
Really?
Yeah, there's a musical about it.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And
Well,
they're
all
musicals. They're musicals of other anime also. I can't tell you right now what they are. I just know.
I see the Naruto one.
Yeah, that's one. And there are other ones. I'm sure there's a Dragon Ball Z musical out there.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's in Spanish, of course.
Obviously.
Fucking
The
sponsored
original.
by Canal 5.
If you can win tickets if you open your bag of Fritos and pull out the little tabs from the inside. Just have
You're
to
kidding,
text
but
that
you're
number.
not.
What do you guys think about the live action series that Netflix is doing? Do you feel that it's just it's already been done and it should just be left alone, or do you think that it's a good time to do this? Because
I feel like it's a good time to do this. I guess just to introduce more people to anime, or sometimes some people think anime is just for kids, or there's a stigma behind anime. So doing it live action brings in more people. It what's that word I'm trying to think of? It broadens the audience basically.
I mean, it's a good timing considering, like, Power Rangers came out, and
Ghost in the
we
Shell's
got
coming out.
Ghost in the Shell, and like we got all like these,
We're having that other manga adaptation that Robert Rodriguez is doing.
We're getting like over the top, Japanese inspired things coming out recently. So I guess they're viewing it as like now is as good a time as any to like throw out as much shit as they can so that people will like to try to rejuvenate the audiences.
Yeah.
To like try to bring in more people into the crowd and such.
Now, considering
all
that
those
this
past weebs that moved along and evolved from weebs.
All those people who have always wanted to get into it but were too afraid to because their friends are like, I really hate weeaboos.
like Bill Burr,
It's true.
who came out earlier and was like, One Punch Man is a pretty good show. Like it happened. Like that's what I woke up to today. For some reason, my phone was on Netflix or on Twitter. and when I clicked the button to see what time it was, I just saw Bill Burr saying that One Punch Man was a pretty good show, and I was like, that's weird.
He was talking directly to you.
He was talking directly. It was like at Noonie. This is what I think.
I've
Get
seen
it
the
in your
podcast,
podcast.
and I have to tell you what I think.
Listen, you guys are garbage. Here's why. You haven't talked about One Punch Man. But considering that this has been basically in development since 2009,
Really?
yeah. Like I forget
Hmm.
what podcast I was listening to. I think it was a Giant Bombcast or something like that, where somebody was talking about it. But or maybe the Super Best Friend Cast, I don't know. But they were talking about how this movie was originally slated for like a 2010 release or something like that. I forget exactly. But the directors decided that they couldn't fit the entire story in like a movie, which is understandable. They couldn't fit it in like a movie length. So they didn't want anything to do with it. And they've like switched between 3 directors and shit until Netflix finally picked it up and was like, hey, we can do something with this. And hopefully it's okay.
We'll make a movie.
We'll show you guys. We'll fit the whole story.
Actually, I do feel like it would have made a good movie. But we'll get to that.
All right.
Well, it's the same
we'll
thing
get
that's
to
happening with Akira. It's been in production since forever, and it's not coming out anytime soon. And the closest that we got to that is what's that movie called? Chronicle?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's as close to Akira we'll ever get, and I kind of like Chronicle.
Chronicle was good, and I liked Chronicle, and it's sad that the director couldn't film like Chronicle 2 like he wanted to, and Fox was like, nah man, you gotta make Fantastic Four, so they wound up making that shit heap 4. And yeah, like essentially what happened was the reason the story was so like retarded in 4 was because part of the like the bare bones of that storyline was meant for Chronicle 2.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was supposed to continue on. Like he had the whole thing set up, and then Fox was like, "Hey, how about you do this now?" And so that's how he did it. And then yeah, I think there's no chance of Chronicle 2 ever happening because the director's been blacklisted from Hollywood.
Oh,
What the fuck?
He was very he was a
Okay.
terrible person on the set of the thing, because like apparently like he dicked around a lot, he caused a lot of property damage, and he was drunk like 90% of the filming of 4.
Well, that'll do
but
it.
I thought that was Hollywood.
Yeah, you'd figure, but no, apparently it's too much.
No, he had too much fun doing what he loved.
What do you mean he hated being there?
Doing what he loved. getting drunk,
Yeah, there's that.
causing debauchery. What was your guys' favorite opening? I want to ask this now before we get like too far into it because
Second
I'm gonna
opening.
forget about it.
The first one.
The
The
second
first
was
one.
my favorite.
I'm not gonna decide because I didn't really like them that much.
I liked
Okay.
them. The first one, I liked the music, but the second one, I liked the song and the visuals, especially because the multiple laughing lights made me laugh.
I
Oh,
thought it was a fucking joke.
Which reminded me, there was a parody that had laughing Pikachu's. They did an intro of with Pikachu in it.
Mine was the first opening that was my favorite one. I like the idea of the second opening and like the power violence ending near the, at the very end. And I get what they were doing. I like the idea of it, but I just don't like the song that much. It sounds like something that Misa would listen to. Just your generic metalcore thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Fucking Misa.
I don't understand why everybody hates her so much. I feel like there are so many more characters that you could hate.
I mean, I do hate other characters. I just hate Misa. I don't.
Mike
like
hates
Misa.
everybody.
Mike
I don't
hates everybody.
hate everyone.
That's a lie. Mike does love Elle. He said if he could, he would switch places with Light and become his butt buddy.
I'd be best friends with Elle. I wouldn't kill him.
His only friend?
I wouldn't kill him at the earliest convenience either.
I mean, Light didn't. We'll get into that later. But as of now, Misa's at least on AnimePlanet.com, Misa's the fourth hated character out of all of anime.
Out of all of anime?
Out of all of anime.
Who's
Yeah.
the top three?
From the 70s
So,
to now.
Yeah. So the first one is that guy from Full Metal Alchemist that did the thing with his daughter and made the Chimera.
I mean, it was fucked up that he did it, but I don't really feel like
He
super
is
hatred
number
towards him.
one.
He is number one. I mean, I feel like it's a meme to hate him as much as people do, I guess.
Well, I mean, you do have the people that are dressing up in cosplay as him and then going around with the pictures of his daughter and the dog.
Yeah, you see, that's what I mean.
It's
I
great.
feel
I
like
love
it's just a meme.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a
it was
meme
a
that-
dark scene, but it wasn't. I've seen worse.
And then Sakura's number 2. Sasuke is number 3.
Hmm?
What?
And then it's Misa.
I
And
can
then
understand Sakura. She was fucking useless.
and then Nina Einstein from Code Geass. And then Nier's number 6.
How could you hate Nina though? She didn't do much of anything.
They hate her apparently.
She reacted correctly for what little knowledge she possessed. Because Lelouch didn't tell her anything, so it's hard to be like, oh, she's acting dumb, as though you're assuming she knew her brother had this fucking ginormous plan going on in the background. As far as she knew, her brother became a tyrant, and she needed to put him down.
And then Mello's number 11.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Mello is a piece of shit.
Yeah. And then as for the number 1 person that everybody loves, it's L.
No.
Like that as of right now, that's the top loved character.
It makes sense, Mike.
Yeah.
You see, I was the one that made these polls.
It was. Everybody knows that you love Edward Elric the second most, and that's why you put him at number 2. They're both your favorite. Now let's get into this. I just wanted to say that I had a hard time finding where to watch this because before I found out that it was on Netflix, I tried looking everywhere. I even tried going to other anime websites, but for some reason none of them were working for me.
The English dub was on YouTube until I went to the
Until
last
you started
episode.
watching it?
Until I got to the last episode, I was about to watch it. They
And
restricted
then
it.
they banned it.
Yeah.
The only one that I was able to find was actually on Viz Media's actual website.
No shit.
And I said, okay, well, let's see what's going on. And it had like ads in it and shit, and it was in a really shitty format. It was 16:9, but it was shrunk to
What the fuck?
essentially be 4:3, even if you put it on full screen.
What the fuck?
And the subtitles weren't actually on the anime itself. They were in like a big black area at the bottom. And it just wasn't that great. And I told myself, well, I mean, if I can, I'll even pay to like watch this anywhere, just anywhere. And I couldn't find it anywhere until I was like, well, I guess it should be on Netflix, right? Sure enough, it was, and my life got saved.
You'd think that there would be more distribution.
You would think, but who knows? Maybe they have like a special agreement with Netflix or something.
Yeah, because they're producing a movie out of it, probably.
Yeah. It's all your fault, Juan.
Yeah, it is. It's true.
Oh, did you watch it subbed or dubbed?
I watched it dubbed because it reminded me of when Death Note was coming out in Adult Swim.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really interested in wanting to watch it, but surprise, at that time I was working at the taco shop, so I couldn't watch it. And I finally watched it after how many years? 10 years?
Is this the first time you've seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've only seen like the first 2 episodes, and then that was only because it was like the 2 Saturdays that I wasn't working, and then eventually I just worked forever.
You've never had a day off. And I first started watching it when it was coming out back in when I was in high school in 2007. I want to say it was like a junior or something. I don't know. But I would go to. This was at a time where I didn't have internet or anything, so I would have to take my little flash drive to a friend's house and put episodes in there, and then take them to my house and watch them. So I watched, I think, up to. Now after watching it, I want to say I watched up to like maybe episode 8. Before I thought episode 12, but no.
Yeah, like your first time around.
Yeah, my first time around. But you know, as soon as my friend Gabriel like finished going through all of the anime, he just deleted it out of his computer, and I was like, well, I guess I can't watch it anymore. And there was other stuff for me to watch, so I would just drop it like. It wasn't uncommon for me to drop something around that time since I was at the whim of others.
Oh.
And then I saw that they were giving it an Adult Swim, and I was like, hey, that's cool. I remember watching that a year ago. But I never watched it because, again, this was also at a time when I didn't have cable either. I just knew that it was an Adult Swim because I would see the commercials from time to time, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I wish I could watch that.
Yeah. Oh, and another thing that I used to do when I would work at the taco shop, I would ask my brother to watch it and then like tell me what happens when I get back out of work. So like when I get out like at 2 a.m, I would like
you'd sit on the floor and cross your legs and look up at him with your
recall
fist
it to
under
me
your
as
chin.
though I were blind.
And then he wouldn't recall it to me, and I just gave up because he'll be like, yeah, this bitch, you got a note, and this bitch died. I'm like, this doesn't help. This doesn't help me.
He wrote some people's name in the notebook and they died. And that was
Basically,
about
he just
the
kept
end of the
writing.
episode. He just kept writing, and he was eating a chip dramatically. I didn't fucking understand everything.
He paused a little
basically-
and took a little breath, and he was like, and eat it too.
Yeah, and, which is funny because like when the Netflix thing came out, he like texted me about it, and I wouldn't think he would text me about Death Note, but I guess
Apparently
because
he
that was yeah, I guess he liked Death, that he
He liked Death Note.
yeah, he secretly likes it.
So beyond this point, there's going to be basically nothing but spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, stop listening, or if you don't want to see it, keep listening. You know,
Mhm.
you might
all
end
up
up
to
not
you.
liking it. Who knows?
So where do we begin?
This is essentially a crime drama with like supernatural undertones because Death Note. and it revolves. It's a story that revolves around a.
Death
What
Note?
was his name, or what
Light
was his
Yagami?
grade?
Light
I know.
Yagami?
Let me correct myself before you correct me. What was he in? He was a senior in high school, right?
Technically.
Yes, he was a senior in
About
high
to
school.
graduate. Yeah.
About to graduate. Yes.
So it revolves around this senior in high school named Light Yagami, and a Shinigami pal named Ryuk, for the first half at least. So essentially, what happens is Light's sitting in a classroom, and all of a sudden he sees a notebook falling from the sky, and he's like, "Ooh, what's that?" And he goes to see it, and he picks it up, and he's like, "What's this IG garbage? I wonder who'd do that. What kind of an idiot would take this seriously?" And then he picks up the Death Note and he takes it. And he goes home, and I think he finds Ryuk around that point, and Ryuk tells him, "Hey, this is all true. Whatever, whoever this name you write in here is going to die." And Light's like, "Cool. I can be God."
That was his first thought. He's like, I can be God with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that you find out that the reason that Ryuk dropped the Death Note in the human world, because what a Death Note essentially is a notebook that Shinigami carry around, and they write the names of people who are gonna die, or like who will die, or they have to kill for whatever reason, in order to expand their lifespan. And because they don't really do much, they just kind of do that all the time. Ryuk gets bored, and he's like, "I want to entertain myself, so I'm just gonna drop this in the world and see what happens." You also find out the little rules and little quirks of the Death Note as the series slightly goes on. One of the first things that you find out is that you can make a deal with the Shinigami to trade half your lifespan in order to get Shinigami Eyes, which tells you the name of a person, and you can see the lifespan that's on top of, or that they have remaining. And then that's up to where I watched where I was sober. Because I don't know exactly what happened. I just know that I remember having some friends over, and I told them, "Hey, I'm going to be watching Death Note for, this thing."
Oh, that
For
was
this
that
podcast.
time
Yeah.
where you fucking burst into my room in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
What?
I was like laying in bed and I had taken a nap.
Well,
'cause, like,
no, it sounds weird when you say it like that, but our fridge is in
Yeah.
your room.
Yeah, our fridge is in my room, so it's fine that he did that. It was just weird that like he just comes, like he's just like he throws the door open and then he walks in, and because like what happened was, yeah, he was watching Death Note with a few friends of ours, and like they're just they're watching it. They leave eventually, and I guess he got hungry, and
Looney Hungies.
he comes stumbling into the room, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like laying in my bed on my phone, and he just keeps walking, and he's like, "It's nothing, Mike. Just go to bed." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I was like, "How was Death Note?" And he's like, Mike, I'm fucking drunk, Mike." And I was like, "Okay." And then he repeatedly told me that I did not
No,
understand.
Mike, you don't understand, Mike. I'm fucking drunk.
Yeah, he kept saying it, and like when he finally got to the fridge, he's like leaning over it, and then he grabs the yogurt, and then he just like stumbles out of the room with the yogurt, and that was the last I heard of him.
Wait, you have another fridge, or did y'all move the fridge to your
It's
room?
because our main fridge broke, and I bought a mini fridge, and I put it in my room.
Okay.
And I keep telling myself and Noonie that I need to move it, but I keep forgetting, and so it stays.
Okay, it makes more sense. Like, what the fuck? Did y'all move the fridge to my room?
Yes, we just
Yeah,
moved
Mike.
it to my room.
Mike's very
it?
greedy. He took the entire fridge and just moved it to his room.
Get it closer to y'all's room so you don't have to walk as much. That's terrible.
But essentially, what happened around this time was that Light started killing like a shitload of people using the Death Note with no regard. He would just kill criminals that did horrible crimes all the time, and mainly focus his the people that died in Japan, and then slowly started like encompassing the world with whatever he saw on the news or whatever he'd look up. And because of that, people started to get suspicious, and they were like, "Hey, isn't it kind of weird that like all these people are dying of heart attacks?" And everybody was like, "Yeah." So they sent a bunch of FBI agents to investigate, and one of the places that they sent them to investigate was Japan. And then to make a long story short, mostly because I don't remember, Light ends up killing the 12 FBI agents. But before he does any of that, I forget that he announces to the world in on a TV broadcast that he's gonna name himself Kira or Killer if you're American.
Wait,
But
I don't think he actually named himself that. Didn't the the public name him that or some shit like that?
Yeah.
Sure.
On the
Somebody
internet.
like made a website and then just kind of referenced him and whatnot.
you see, that's what you're here for, because I don't remember.
Yeah, they made a website, and
was
then
too
he
drunk
goes
and
and looks
lecture.
at the website, and he's like, "Oh, these people are requesting that I murder other people."
Yeah.
Was it him or was it L that announced himself first?
was
L was L preemptively struck.
All right. So that happened, and then after he killed the 12 FBI agents, that's when L introduces himself, and he's the one that he's actually like on the screen, and he tells them, "All right, my name is L. I am good guy. I solve crime." And
Real good.
and Light's like, "Man, fuck this guy." And he writes his name in the notebook because he used his real name for some reason and his face, and then all of a sudden he dies of a heart attack 40 seconds later. And then that's when the screen goes to white and the Roman numeral L appears, and he's like, "I knew you would do that, and now I know that you're in Japan because I'm only broadcasting this in certain areas in this country, so now I can pinpoint my, where I'm focusing my investigation because you killed that guy. Oh, it's okay that you killed him because he was a death row inmate, so don't worry about it." After that, Light's like, "Man, fuck this guy even more. I don't like him."
He gets triggered.
He gets triggered. He gets triggered pretty hard, and he
He gets
continues.
triggered all throughout the series.
And he continues to
does.
get triggered until the story progresses, and he meets a lady who's trying to meet the people that are in charge of the Find Kira task force.
Mm-hmm.
And she says she has some valuable information to give them because they don't know it yet. And Light's like, "Oh no, I better get this girl's name so I can kill her." So he starts he reveals to her that his dad is working on the task force and he could relay the information to her if she wants him to. And she's like, "No, it's okay." And Light's like, "Oh, well, I'm going to keep being persistent and I'm going to convince you to do it." And he convinces her to do it. But when she tells him her name, he writes it down on the death note, and he finds out that what she's using is an alias and it's not really her real name. So he continues to just like poke at her until he's finally like, "All right, I wasn't supposed to tell you this, but I'm in the task force and I want you to help me. But the only way that I can let you join is if I make sure that you're who you are. So I got to see your ID." So he sees her ID, and he writes her name in the death note, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm Kira." And she's like, "What?" And then her eyes just go blank, and she starts walking away, and he's like, "What's wrong? Don't you have any information to tell me? Don't you want to tell them that I am Kira?" And then she just goes off to kill herself.
Mm-hmm. Which I forget that in Japanese culture, aren't like 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds considered adults? So
I guess it
so I,
depends.
yeah, so I was like, it's weird that this lady trusts a 17-year-old, and
Well,
says
I
that
mean-
he's basically a cop.
Nah, dude,
And I
it's
was-
Japan, dude, and he's full of charisma, dude.
They also said that he helped with previous like investigations before,
Yeah. Damn.
which is also kind of weird. I mean, him being a senior in high school, I would assume that he's 18 at this point.
Yeah.
But seeing as he's done it before, I mean, he must have been doing it since he was like 16, 15. They were the ages were set at one point, I think. I just didn't write it down. So then she goes to kill herself, and Elle finds out about it. And you find out that it was one of the FBI agent's wife. And that lady was a retired FBI agent who happened to have helped Elle in a murder case investigation that happened in Los Angeles earlier. And he's like, that's weird that she just killed herself. And it couldn't be because her husband just died. She doesn't seem like that kind of person. So the story keeps progressing until Light goes to take an entrance exam for his college. And he's like, man, this guy behind me looks fucking weird as hell. And he's sitting pretty weird. And then he looks back, and the guy's just staring at him. And they both get like the highest ranking scores in their class, and they're going to the ceremony, and they're both caught up to the stage, and they do their little thing. And then when they go back to sit down, they sit next to each other. And Light hears him talking to him, and he's like, hey, what's up? And Light's like, oh, nothing much. You? And he's like, I'm Elle. And then Light
and then he just starts watching him.
And then Light almost has a fucking heart attack.
He gets triggered again?
I mean, honestly, in that situation, I'd start panicking too.
What I wrote down for my note in this specific area was Light loses his shit when he gets home and says Elle humiliated him by showing himself. Because when Light gets home, he just like starts fucking screaming, and he has like that stupid screech where he's like,
oh yeah, he's like, I've never been so humiliated in my life. I was like, holy shit. And then like he also does that thing where he has like a quick recovery where like, no, it's okay, okay. This is an opportunity. I'm gonna use this to get away with it.
I accept your challenge, Elle.
Yeah.
And then Elle and Light have a tennis match, and you find out that somehow Elle was like a junior heavyweight championship of tennis or something like that. And then in Europe, and you find out that Light is also the junior heavyweight championship of Japan in tennis too. When like they're having this tennis match, and all of a sudden like a crowd of people show up, and a fucking referee just shows up out of nowhere also. And they kind of break the fourth wall with Elle saying, "Hey, isn't it? It's kind of funny that this referee just showed up in the middle of the game."
Yeah, they're like, Ryuk is like, all these people fucking came out of nowhere. He's like, we got a referee and a giant crowd of people. None of these people were here before. And like all the other minor characters that have been introduced are like there watching and narrating his match in typical anime fashion. Like they're just narrating both of the people. And then what makes it really like campy was that like running down the stairs is this dude, and he's like, guys, I have something to tell you. Elle over here was a fucking junior champion, and Light over here, and he's like explaining their backstories, and I was like, was this fucking necessary? And then that's when Ryuk chimed in, and he's like, I don't know where these fucking people came from. It was so like I like this show because it's like, if you weren't able to like listen in on what Light was thinking of most of the time, you'd see it as like a normal anime on the outside. Because like everything's happening normally, like in an anime, like in anime fashion, everything is occurring like that. But on the inside, you have to listen to Light and his rants and ravings.
Yeah, his inner monologues.
So many of those.
So many inner monologues. Until one point where I thought it was out of character for him to say something out loud that I pointed out later. But after Light ends up winning the match, Elle's like, hey, you want to come with me and find Killer? And Light's like, yeah. And then Elle's like, come with me to this cafe and put together this puzzle. These 3 notes were given to me, and I want you to put them together how they're supposed to be put. And then Light puts them together. And he was like, here, this is how it's supposed to be, right? And then L's like, no, that's wrong. There's actually a fourth note, so I just made you look stupid. And Light noticed it because there were notes that were written to L, but Kira was the one that wrote it to him. And it's all in Light's handwriting. So the fourth note he notices isn't in his handwriting, but he doesn't make a fuss about it because he's just like, well, if I say something, that'll just be too fucking obvious. So I'm just going to keep quiet and be like, oh, I didn't know. And then all of a sudden, Light's dad has a heart attack. Like in the middle of this little challenge, I guess. And you're like, whoa, that's weird. Who could have possibly given him a heart attack? And he was just stressed out, I guess.
It was stress induced.
It was a stress induced heart attack. But shortly after that, a package arrives at a TV station saying that Kira sent it, and that if they didn't play the tapes that were inside of that package, that Kira would kill everybody in the station. So they broadcast it. And it was describing people that were on national TV and saying what time that they would die. And everything that was being said on the tapes was happening. And the police are like, dude, we gotta fucking stop this. So a police officer shows up at the front of the building and he's like, all right, I'm gonna stop this. And he just falls and dies. And then another one shows up. And he's like, oh no, that guy died, and he just falls and dies. And then they deduce that this kid, I guess I should have mentioned this earlier, L had deduced that Kira could kill with only a face and a name. And then they deduce that this Kira could kill only by seeing somebody's face. And you're like, oh, that's cool. So, all of a sudden, Light's dad just busts into the building inside a police van. Like he just got out of the hospital and just did that. And he goes and gets the tapes and he tells them to stop broadcasting everything. And they're like, okay, but if we do it, we're gonna die. And they're like, well, if you keep broadcasting them, I'm gonna fucking kill you. So they stop broadcasting it. And then L's like, there must be a second Kira, because I'm so smart. And then it's shown that some girl's the Death Note user. And you find out that she had the Shinigami eyes.
She gave up half of her life for those eyes.
She gave up half of her life to those eyes. The police decide to make like a little response video, a fake response video for the videos that were being, shown on TV that were killing the people on TV. They were like, hey, you should stop doing that, and you should meet me or something like that. And then she sends in like another tape from a different location, and she basically reveals to them, or she doesn't reveal to them, but she mentions that she has the eyes, and Light's like, oh, I guess she must have, killed half of herself. And then when she mentions the word Shinigami, Elle just freaks the fuck out, and he's like, oh!
I didn't get that.
And he falls down.
Because, I think he was trying to show, oh, ghosts, I'm scared of those. That can't possibly be real. So he's like, I remember seeing this in one of my animes. Let me react just like them. And that's what he did. So he fucking jumped out of his chair and then he fell back and everyone, even the other characters are like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
So I guess this is a little relevant to the current topic, but one of the things that I found extremely weird about this show was just that nobody really talked about just how completely impossible it was for somebody to kill somebody without touching them or being anywhere near them.
Well, they brought it up, but then Elle was like, well,
no, listen, I'm smart. I know.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, it could be supernatural, but I mean, we just gotta see. And then even then, he was like, well, even if it's supernatural, I'm still gonna fucking catch this guy because I'm L and nothing will stop me.
Nothing
Yeah,
will
but then
stop.
it's like Ghost, and he's like, ah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It was just weird.
Too spooky, man.
Yeah, like I mean, even when other shit happened, like the whole like where Rem flipped Misa's hair or whatever, he's like, oh. And then
Oh, yeah.
you're right. Everyone just accepted these like weird fucking things happening as like just they're like, all right, whatever, just keep going. Like when they lost their memory and he's like, well, I mean, whatever, it's we'll figure this out. I was like, no, you don't just figure that shit out. That doesn't just suddenly come to you.
After L freaks the fuck out, Light just convinces L that probably what the second Kira meant when she said Shinigami was their power to kill. He was like, oh, it's probably like a code word and just means, their power to kill. And L's like, yes, you're right. And then you hear like a little bit of like backstory as to exactly what a Death Note is and why Ryuk was just able to drop it like nothing. And Misa's or the second Kira's name is Misa, the girl's name, has a Shinigami named Rem. And Misa's Shinigami tells her that no matter what, a Shinigami always has to have their death note with them at all times, or something bad happens. I don't think it's ever revealed like what the thing that happens is, but yeah. And she also says, well, if Ryuk just dropped somebody like a death note in the world, that must mean he has a second death note, because you also find out that Rem, Misa Shinigami, also has a second death note. And she's like, oh, by the way, I also know how to kill a Shinigami. And then Misa's like, oh, cool. So how do you kill a Shinigami? And Rem's just like, you have to make them fall in love. And they're like, oh, well, that's stupid. But okay.
Yeah. But technically they fall in love, but what really kills them is if they or if they try to protect someone
if
that's
they
about to die.
If they interfere with somebody's death before they die.
Yeah.
They can die. And
that's what really kills them.
Yeah. But then Misa asks Rem, so how did you get your notebook? And she was like, well, I just happened to be there when the Shinigami died. And then she's like, oh, okay. Well, then how did Ryuk get his notebook? And Rem's like, well, I think he just tricked the Shinigami king, and he's pretty smart. And you're like, okay.
Who's the king? Nah, don't worry about it, dude. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you right now, they never mention the king. They never allude to him. There's no explanation as to the hierarchy and structure of the Shinigami society. You don't know shit, but somehow Ryuk tricks them and managed to come down here with a notebook that wasn't even his.
Nope.
And give it to someone else, and nobody fucking explains that. And Ryuk is just like,
and then you get told a little story of why like Rem just so happened to be there when somebody died and got their notebook, and he tells you about this Shinigami that fell in love with a girl that he was observing, and he just like started obsessing over her and like would never leave like the little window that he had to see into the human world. And he happened to interfere the time of death of whenever the woman was supposed to die by killing like the person that was about to stab her.
Yeah.
And giving his life for her and turning into sand. And you find out that whatever life force the Shinigami had is then like transferred over to the person that they saved for some reason.
Yeah,
because love.
But like the thing about that is that like they can stack life force, because like every time a Shinigami kills somebody, it's added to their own life force. So if they were to die in exchange for human, that person could live unnaturally long.
Yeah. Which like considering what happens later on, Misa would have probably lived a fucking long ass life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how many deals she would have made. But then you find out the name of the Shinigami was Jealous, and you're like, oh, that's stupid. And then you think to yourself, well, I mean, if it were in a different language and it still meant the same word, would it still be stupid? Probably. But, you know, because I don't know the language, it sounds cool to me. You hear this little story, and then I think I already said it, but turns out the person that Jealous saved was Misa. But if I didn't say it, I'm saying it now. And Misa's like, so that's who saved me that day. I thought it was weird that that guy just fucking died. All of this, like, plot is just between this, like, back and forth conversation that Misa and Rem are having. And Misa asks why she can't see how much time she has left. Like, whenever she looks in the mirror, why can't she see, you know, her lifespan? And then Rem tells him that Death Note users can't see each other's lifespans. And you're like, oh, that's cool. And neither, like, Shinigami also can't see the lifespan of other Shinigami. And you're also like, oh, that's cool. Later on, like, not too much later on, but a little bit later on, that the fact that she can't see other Death Note users' lifespan gives them away instantly whenever she tries to find them. Because she ends up delivering, like, a note or, like, an itinerary, I guess, to a TV station saying that she wants to meet Kira and she's gonna, like, this is gonna be the schedule that she's gonna have and that she wants to see him. So the police are like, all right, let's go to these places, but let's try and be inconspicuous. And Light goes with, like, a group of friends, like, and one other detective. And Misa disguises herself, and she's just sitting in a cafe, and she's like, all right, so whoever's lifespan I can't see, that's who Kira is. And then she sees Light, and she's like, okay. And then she just walks up to, like, she just shows up to Light's house. She knocks on the door, and she's just like, hey, I'm looking for Light. and her parents and her mom and Light's mom and Light's sister's just like, who the fuck are you? And she's like, oh, I just know Light. And then Light shows up, and he's like, who the fuck are you? And she's like, I know who you are. Like, Light had been covering up him getting home late by saying that he had a girlfriend and all this stuff. And then he tells him, oh yeah, there's that person that I was talking about before. And they're like, oh, you dirty birdie.
Dirty birdie.
So then stuff happens. Then, like, you find out that other Death Note users can see the other person's Shinigami if they touch their notebooks. So Light touches Misa's notebook, and Misa touches Light, and they see each other's Shinigami, and she's like, oh, this is so cool.
Dirty.
So
Touch
dirty. And then Rem tells her, listen, man, I don't care about you. I just want Misa to be happy for some reason. For some reason, I have these feelings. I can't tell you why, but
there's no previous. They don't explain why Rem is obsessed with Misa, but you know,
I mean, she just
they are.
Yeah, she's just like, I just want to make her happy. And then Light's like, hey, Misa, would seeing me happy make you happy? And Misa's like, oh, dude, seeing you happy is all I want to see, man. And then Light's like, you know what wouldn't make me happy? If Rem were to kill L. Wouldn't that make you happy if I were happy, Misa? And Misa's like, yeah, you know what, Rem? You should kill L. And then Rem's like, no, fuck that. And then you see, like, Light's fucking game at 100%, and he just, like, seduces her and kisses her and has her around her finger, even though she was already obsessed over him. And she's just like, I'll do whatever you say, no matter what. And they discuss what's going to happen, and they're just kind of like, okay, well, you're going to be, because you're not going to say no, you're going to be my girlfriend. Because sure, why not? But I'm gonna look like I'm a playa, so people don't suspect that you're the second Kira, and we're not like getting around each other, because this entire time L has, from what I remember, was like a 7% chance that Light was Kira. So seeing her associate with Light might like bring up suspicions and shit. So Light gets like some other bitch, and he's like, "Hey, bitch, sit with me, bitch. Be my bitch, bitch." And the bitch is like, "You never pay attention to me." And Light's like,
Shut up,
baby. I know it.
Yeah. Basically.
Shut up, baby. You know you love me. And then she's like, yeah. And then that was it. Like, she just,
and then
she
Light's like,
blushes
"Man, I can't
getting
believe she
all
likes
sundered.
that."
She's all sunder and shit.
While Light is hanging out with his bottom bitch, he sees L just sitting on a bench, and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And L's like, "Oh, just chilling." And then Light tells his bottom bitch, "Hey, I need to talk to this guy. You go do you, baby." And she's like, "All right, daddy." And then they start talking, and then all of a sudden, like, Misa shows up because she's like, "I can't be without my boo." And she ruins everything, and because like they had been tailing Light and seeing like who he associates with, and they saw that he would like talk to Misa and stuff. And L's like, "All right, this is a bad thing." And L's like, "Oh, you're Misa. I know who you are. I'm such a big fan." And you later find out that this is just like a gigantic act. And then people start crowding around her, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Misa. Whoa, blah blah blah." And then
He touches her butt.
L grabs Misa's ass and played it
And he's
off.
like,
And he's like, who could have possibly grabbed your ass? We're gonna find him immediately.
And then everyone was like, "Oh, you're so silly."
Oh, it's so funny that he
eccentric foreigner.
fucking grabbed her ass.
I mean, judging by the events that happened later, she's pretty used to being, groped and
Grabbed
kidnapped
ass.
and
Fucking
molested
tied
and
down
raped.
in super sexual ways for
She's
some
been
reason.
into some kinky situations, and from the looks of it, she gets off to them, so it's fine. She's into what's the word, exhibitionism, and I am a fan of exhibitionism.
You see, Mike just walks around our apartment naked all the time, and I'm just like, "Dude, Mike, at least put a sock on it or something." And he's like, "Nope, this is what I like, Noonie." And I'm just like, "All right, whatever, Mike. I'm not gonna tell you no. You do pay half the rent and the internet, and that's the most important thing." So after like Misa goes away, Light's like, "Hey, I'm gonna use the restroom real quick," because L introduces himself to Misa, and as we found out earlier, Misa has the Shinigami eyes, and she's like, "Oh, that's not your real name. I know what your real name is. Why is he using a fake name?" So then, instead of actually going to the restroom, Light picks up his cell phone, and he calls Misa. And then you hear a ringtone, and you're like, "What? Is she still there?" And the camera pans around, and it shows you L taking a cell phone out of his pocket, and you're like, "Oh, that son of a bitch! He didn't really grab her ass. He stole her cell." I mean, he did.
Did it?
He did, but he had an actual purpose behind it other than to fucking grab her
And to
ass.
grope her.
Not sexual arousal like normal people. No.
I mean, I'd like to believe that the whole reason was to grope her, but he's like, also, she's got her phone back there, I'm assuming.
I mean, it's a win-win for him, right? So then Light turns around and he's like, "Why the fuck do you have her phone?" And he's like, "Oh, this thing? I guess somebody must have dropped it. Oh well, I guess we'll find out whose it is." And he's like, "It's Misa's." And he's like, "Oh, is it really? Oh, okay." And
I remember this part.
then they just capture her and then tie her up, and he's
But
like,
Noonie,
"So,
You forgot about the part where he's like, "I'm gonna call one of her other cell phones," and then he calls the other cell phone, and then L picks it up again.
He's like, "Moshi moshi," and he's just standing there like, fucking dick.
I thought he ended up not actually calling the other cell phone.
No, he did. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure he called both of them.
No, he did, but it was ringing, but he didn't answer it. He just picks up the other one. Like he stops where he is, and then he holds the other phone in his hand, and he's just waving it around, like, "Yeah, I fucking know you dipshit."
Really? I thought he was about to, but like it coincided because L's phone, like L's.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
L's-
that's
L's-
right. It
L's
was
actual phone,
L's
Rel.
actual phone, yes. And then that's when he gives him the news, and he's like, "Yeah, we caught your girlfriend."
Yeah, because they found a bunch of crumbs and hair follicles that coincided with her. Because
Crumbs.
crumbs. Because he's too smart, dude. It's just too smart. So they capture Misa, and they tie her up in like some BDSM fashion, and for like 3 days, and on the third day, she's just can't take it anymore, and she's just like, "Kill me. Please kill me," but she's talking to Rem, and Rem's like, "Dude, I can't kill you, man. I like you.
I fucking love you, dude.
I fucking love you, man. I can't bring myself to do it. But you know what I can do? We can relinquish the ownership of the Death Note, and you'll forget about everything." And you're like, "Oh, that's
Everything?
cool. Everything." So then she does that, but she won't because she does that, she's not going to be able to see the Shinigami anymore. But like, and she's also going to forget about all the people that she killed with the Death Note. But her love for light will remain, and boy, does it.
It does.
It does. So then she relinquishes her thing for the Death Note, and then you get the scene in the woods, and Light's like, "Okay, this is going to be the plan," and you don't hear the plan. But you hear him you see him bury a Death Note on the floor, and he tells Ryuk, "All right, Ryuk, when I give you the signal, I'm gonna relinquish my Death Note." And Ryuk's like, "Okay, whatever." Then Light shows up, and he's like, "Dude, I have a feeling that I might be Kira. I mean, you're telling me that I'm him." And you know what? I might be him, but I don't remember being him. I could be him subconsciously. Dude, just put me in a cell. Put me in a cell by myself. And if it's to prove that I'm not Kira, I'll be there as long as I need to be. 24-hour surveillance. Blah blah blah. And they do it, and Light's dad gets in the cell, like goes to jail also because like he's like, "Dude, you're putting my son in jail. And if I'm here, I'm just going to kick your ass. So just put me in jail until you let my son out." And after 7 days for Light, and I think it was like 10 for Misa, Ryuk finally Light finally gives Ryuk the signal, and he relinquishes like the Death Note, and then all of his memories disappear, and his like squinty eyes become like big, round, and generic anime eyes. And you're like, "Man, I like the other design better. I wish he still looked the same, but no." Then all of a sudden, after I think it was 2 weeks, the killings start
like 2
happening
months?
again. No, they keep him in there for like 2 months.
Oh,
But they
It was only like after 2 weeks, wasn't it?
No. It was over a month. It was almost 2 months. Yeah, because they after 2 weeks the killings start happening again, but they're like, "Okay, nobody tell Light about it," and then they just keep him locked up for over a month. And I specifically remember because I was like, "Dude, how long are they gonna fucking keep him in there?" I'm just gonna write this down and make a note of it. And you find out that Rem gave her Death Note to like a businessman and told him that he could use it as he pleases after he kills a bunch of criminals being broadcast on the news. And then L talks to Light's dad, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to do something for me, and it's gonna prove whether your son is or isn't Kira. You down?" And he's like, "All right, I'm down."
Then no. Fucking dad was like, "Oh, what?"
No, like he asked him if he's down, and his dad was like he's down, and then L explains everything, and you can't hear anything, and then that's when he's like, "Wah."
Yeah, that's when he's like, "Oh, wah."
His dad reacted so horribly every time like his son was accused or that he accused himself of it.
He's
Maybe
like,
I
"Nah,
am
nigga, you
Kira's
crazy."
son. I don't want you talking like that.
Then 3 days pass after L explains his plan to Papa-san, and they let Misa and Light out, but they let him out in like this underground tunnel thing. And Light's dad tells him, like, after putting him in the car, Light's dad tells him that they're gonna be sent to be executed at a secret execution site underground, and nobody knows about it because it's super secret. And he ends up taking them like down at the under a highway, and like as soon as all of this started happening, I was like, man, you know exactly what's gonna happen. You could see what's gonna happen coming from a mile away. But I kept watching because I was like, well, maybe they'll swerve me like they have before. And his dad pulls out a gun and he tells him, "All right, son, I'm gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna kill myself."
Just like he did say he was gonna do that before he got locked up.
Yeah. And then, and he's like, "And Misa, I'm not gonna kill you, so fuck you. But you're gonna tell them what happened." And then Light's like, "Dude, Dad, I'm not Kira. Don't kill me. Blah blah blah. I'm not him." Until he finally like puts a gun up to his head, and he pulls the trigger, and you hear the bang go bang, and then it goes to black, and you're like, well, I know exactly what happened, and they didn't swerve me at all. This was all just to make him confess, and there's no point in not letting you hear what L's plan was because it didn't benefit anything, and it wasn't gonna trick anyone. So Light just is cleared kinda, and L's like, well, we're gonna keep Misa under surveillance, and we're gonna keep you under surveillance, but I'm gonna keep you handcuffed to me, even though I have no proof of you being Kira. It's just a gut feeling, so I'm just gonna keep you here. And Light's
all
like,
of this was illegal,
okay.
and he's just going along with it.
Light's just like, okay, whatever. And I would also like to point out that a blank from that distance would have fucking hurt the fuck out of Light.
It should have.
It would.
It should have.
It would have killed him.
Probably
It should have
yeah.
killed him. Yeah, a blank at that range will kill you.
But also killing people and not touching them, whatever.
Yeah,
You know,
no, that's fine.
I mean, no, that's fine. That's an anime. But the fact that they used a blank and he put it to his head, and he's just like, all right, you're gonna die, and then he fires it and you just hear bang. No, that would have blown his brains out regardless because it was at that
it's
range.
a fucking explosion.
Yeah,
Still an
alternate
explosion.
ending.
It's one of those cap guns.
ejecting.
It was one of those cap guns. They just made it look like a real gun. It was actually a lot less dramatic.
And I feel
just
like
a
that's a
pop.
common thing in a lot of things where they're like, oh, it's just a blank, it's not going to kill me. But you can die from a blank. Do not
If you're
put
fucking
that shit
close
to
to
your
it,
head.
Yeah.
Isn't that like, I don't know, I feel like somebody has died like that.
There's a
because it was
famous
blank.
story about an actor that was showing off to some woman in a bar, and he's like, yeah, these are blanks, they don't do anything. And he fucking blew his brains out at the bar because he was showing off to this girl. I don't remember the actor's name, but that's where I heard it.
It was from, I think it was one of the actors from the Alamo movie.
Yes,
the
it
Alamo
was
set
from the Alamo
Uvalde.
movie. Yes, yeah, it was.
Yeah, because I remember that because that's what they told us when we went to the field trip.
Exactly. When we went to the Alamo, the Alamo reenactment thing or whatever, it's like the Alamo Village. Yeah, it's like they recreated like a little village of like where the original Alamo was and stuff. It's in Uvalde, I believe.
Yeah.
And you go out there and then you do a little history tour. They did this for us in elementary. We go over there and then they're like telling us stories. And then this guy was like, "Yeah, don't fuck with blanks." And he told us a story. He's like, this guy was in the Alamo. He went to a bar. He was trying to impress some lady and stuff. He's like, so he put the gun to his head and he's like, watch, it's not going to do anything. And he's like, little did he know that his brains were about to be blown out. And that was the end of it.
He didn't realize that, there's an actual explosion inside of there.
Regardless of what is inside, it's still an explosive and it is moving at high velocity and then it's right at your head. So you're going to die.
But was the lady impressed?
I mean,
Impressed that he fucking died, yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
Varsity blew his
Hollywood!
own brains. Yeah.
Oh,
Such great effects.
Such great effects. Oh. And as soon as L handcuffed himself to Light, I was like, oh well, I see where all this gay stuff starts coming in from. I see why all those dojins exist. But I digress. So you see a group of salarymen holding a meeting to see who they're gonna kill this week because they're just being told to kill people weekly.
Yeah, they have the book and it's just like between them.
Yeah,
Because this is normally what happens at CEO meetings.
yeah, especially in Japan. You see, nobody better than I at this. They're just like, okay, yes, this is what we do as adults. We kill people. Well, you see that there are 8 of them in this meeting, and they don't know, like, none of them know who Kira is except, the guy that's actually the killer. But they suspect that it's one of the 8 of them. Then you also find out that they kill in order to further, to get richer, make the company, look better and stuff. So it's all for, financial gain. So L finally concludes, after, letting them go, that Light and Misa were being controlled by Kira, and the power can transfer from person to person. And Light's like...
How the fuck does he figure this out?
He's just smart.
Grasped it,
Because he went to
they're
college.
like, oh, he's a genius. He went to college. He's been around the
went to
world.
college.
That's why he can predict literal supernatural events and the science of them.
Yes. See, he's the smartest, Juan.
Let's not forget his amazing tennis ability.
His amazing tennis ability. Oh, and also he can fight, despite his gangly looking appearance. He can.
Oh yes, he can. He can fight with his fucking.
He's a world champion kickboxer.
Dude, he went to Brazil and he learned
capoeira. Yeah.
Capoeira, because that's why he fight. That's why he walks around barefoot half the fucking time.
He's ready to fight at any minute.
At any moment, he will bust out and
he'll
dance
fucking
the shit
dance
out of you.
the shit out of you.
He will dance the shit out. He will dance on your grave. Is what he's gonna fucking do. But yeah, that's
They do show that in the intro, though.
L is a master of many talents.
Yeah. So L and Light get in a fight, and basically Light tells him that L won't be happy unless Light says that he's Kira, and L says, "Yeah, pretty much." And you're just like, this is fucking stupid. This makes no sense, but the anime is still watchable at this point. And in my opinion, remains watchable, but that doesn't mean it made me happy. But
you can keep watching it, but it's still perplexing as to the ridiculousness of the show.
Honestly, at this point, I was just like, all right, things are getting really dragged on now. At this point. It's just, god damn, so much fucking going back and forth, and you're Kita, and you're not Kita, and you are Kita, and you're not Kita, and you know what? I don't really care anymore.
Yeah, around this point, it just starts, up to this point, it was, really interesting to see, the developments and shit. As soon as they got caught, you're like, oh, I can't, what's gonna happen? I can't wait to the next episode. And then around this point, it just starts lulling, and like Mando said, they just go back and forth until, I think it was, episode 23 or something like that. I made a note of it somewhere here, that it started around episode 18. And, no, I didn't make a note of it. Now I lost my spot. Now I gotta go back and read the dojin line. Some politicians were being threatened by Kira, and they said that if they don't stop the investigation, that he'll kill everybody that's involved and all the politicians and stuff. So, they have to, the police force has to stop investigating, and in order, if you want to keep investigating, you have to quit the police force. And then there's a little tiny drama that happens there, because one of them's like, I'm a family man, and then another guy's like, hey, Light's dad, aren't you a family man? And Light's dad's like, I'm different. Somehow. So
nobody likes you, Togusa.
So one of the guys quits. And then you find out later that L was gonna compensate them for their time anyway, and was gonna pay them and shit. But he didn't say anything, because he was like, I want to see who's actually gonna be like into this, but whatever. And then
it was just another one of his crazy tests.
Yeah, pretty much. And then
autistic tests.
And then after that guy quits, like a con man and a thief join them. And you're like, okay.
Which conned and stole their way inside?
Which con? Yeah, they actually stole their way inside. And because L wanted to prove that these guys were like legit, so he told him, hey, if you can break into the building and come into our offices without being detected, you're in. So they did it. And they got in.
Without being detected.
I mean, he had a lot of like very shady teammates though.
Mm-hmm.
Like that girl, the blonde chick that broke into the other Kira's house from like some underground tunnel and shit. And she's like, like I gotta actually break in, or I don't think I should be doing that. He's like, nah, it's okay. And she's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah,
it's cool. Don't worry.
It's cool. Don't worry about it. We'll just break into his house. Because we're all operating off of my intuition and nothing else.
And tennis ability.
And capoeira mastery.
And then around this point, they do a little thing where they make one of the detectives named Matsuda pose as Misa's
manager.
Well, I think at this point he was just supposed to look after her, and the manager thing came after events that came later on. But who knows? I don't really remember. But the fact is that he's looking after Misa, and she just so happens to be working or shooting like some film or something next to this big bank that they figured out was the bank that's like benefiting from all these killings. The detective is like, man, I've been useless this whole time. You know what I could do? I could probably go to that bank and find something out. So he stops watching over Misa and he goes to the bank to find something out. And while this is happening, you like hear that the salarymen hired the second best detective in the world, whose name is Coyle, in order to find L's identity. And then L tells you, oh no, don't worry about it. I'm actually the top 3 detectives in the world.
I'm all 3 of them under different names.
Yeah, pretty much. And then after that little thing, the detective Matsuda is inside the building, and he's just like crawling around. And he's like, man, this is some pretty bad security they have here. I'm just like walking around however I want. Nobody's saying anything. And while he's like waiting at the elevators, he hears 2 guys talking about a secret meeting, and he's like, oh, secret meeting. And he sees to what floor they're going to, and they go to the 19th floor, and he goes and listens in up through their meeting on the door, and he's like, I can't quite hear them. I'm gonna try and listen harder. And he focuses and focuses until they open the door, and he falls in. And he's like, oh no, I'm fucked. And he sets out a little beacon that happens to be in his belt. In his belt. And he tells them, hey, I'm the manager of Misa, and I want her to be the spokesperson for your bank. And they're like, I don't know if I believe this guy. Let's take him to this back room. And
is that really a thing? Having spokespersons for your bank?
I mean, for commercials and shit.
For commercials. But, like, yeah, the fact that he did that, though, I was like, man,
this guy's gonna fucking die.
That's like, they're gonna fucking break his legs in the back.
I mean, as far as they know, he did.
So they take him to the back room, and he's like, I really, really want her to be your spokesperson. I really, really want her to be your spokesperson. And then he gets a call, and it's from L, and they secretly start like telling each other like what's going on and if he's okay. But they're not saying that. They're just talking about going to get some beers. And I was like, all right, this is what's going on, because Matsuda's super smart too, and he gets it. He knows what L's doing. So they slowly start falling for it, And then they get Misa to help them out. And they're like, okay, let's try and, make these guys less suspicious and shit. And let's use Misa's friends to, get them to believe Matsuda.
Escort girls.
Yeah, so they get a bunch of escorts in a room in there, and he's like, "Here, come, let me convince you more. Let me try and convince you as hard as I can to make her your commercial girl." And they're like, "Well, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I like bitches, so I'm gonna go and get bitches." And he goes to the restroom. He calls them, and he's like, "El, what do I do? I'm freaking out. They're gonna fucking kill me." And they're like, "Well, you know how they can't kill you if you die." So he pretends to be drunk as fuck and goes to the balcony, and he's like, "Look at me, I'm drunk. Watch me do circus stuff because I'm cool." And he does a handstand on the edge of a balcony, and he slips and he falls and he lands on a mattress underneath, like that somehow doesn't fold in on itself, and is able to just like maintain his weight and slowly like make him go into this room.
Ultra firm.
The ultra firm. It must have had plywood.
Serta mattresses.
And they throw a rock to make it sound like he hit, and then at the bottom was a con man dressed like him. And they got the ambulance to go when they went all out, to the point where they even put the a fake death thing in the newspapers for them to run. They were like, okay, well, he's dead. Now we don't have to worry if he heard us or not. And they wiretap and put cameras in the rooms of where the salarymen are having the meetings, because it's a pretty shittily guarded place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think they have so much money that they can afford this. Mm-hmm. They can afford security. But no.
Oh, wait, I did make a note of it. I feel like you can skip most of 632 through 21, as it just lulls between L and Light fighting about being Kira over and over. Alright. And then I also wrote that there's a new intro starting on episode 18. And you see new characters get introduced, but you don't see any of them until episode 26, which tells you...
Which is almost over.
Which is almost over. You know, there's plenty of time to develop these characters and make you hate them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, shit. I still have a lot of fucking notes. You guys should help me summarize this as quickly as possible.
L dice?
That's pretty quick. Yeah.
That's pretty quick. So basically, they find out who the salaryman is that's actually Kira, and they broadcast like what's going on TV, and it turns out that they show that Matsuda didn't actually die, and he's like, I'm gonna tell you guys what his name is, because I know who it is. And then Kira's like freaking out and shit, and he's like, I have to go kill him. I gotta get the Shinigami eyes.
I have to fucking murder him.
So he makes a deal with the Shinigamis, and he gets the Shinigami eyes. And he's like trying to get into contact with the people that are like with Misa, and he's like, what's the name of the ex-manager or whatever? And they're like, go to here, and he goes to there. And he finds like his fake name, and he writes it down, and he finds out that he doesn't die. So then he goes and he's like, I'm gonna go to the TV station and I'm gonna kill him in person because I have the Shinigami eyes, and I'm gonna kill him. And they replace the two people talking with mannequins and microphones. So he shows up, and they're like, hey, that's mannequins. And nobody's in this building, and he's like, well, they must have taken extra precautions so nobody would have died, because they're scared. And then they basically like hide their faces, and they're like, stick them up. And he pulls out a gun, and he's like, no, and he shoots them, and he gets in his car, and he starts driving away until he gets cornered. And then by a bunch of like police squad cars that the detective that quit set up, because he's like, I still have faith, and blah blah blah. So he gets out of the car, and he's like, I have been defeated. And they hand over the Death Note, and then as soon as somebody touches it, they see Rem, like they see the Shinigami, and then they start handing it from one person to another, until it finally gets to Light, and then Light's like, "Rah!" and like screams.
It's so like everyone has they're scared, they scream, but no, Light just like fucking. I guess because he gets his memories back. Yeah. He just screeches. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
He has a screech, and then the dramatic music starts, and it's like, oh. Because, you gotta remind people that he's God.
Yeah. Which is funny, because later on, when Misa gets her memories back, like, she doesn't scream.
She's just like, okay, cool.
Like, all right, whatever.
She's like,
where we left off.
She's like, oh, this is...
Shut up, baby, I know.
Shut up, baby, I know.
I remember these people. I killed them. Man, fuck them.
Fuck those guys. Like, yeah, there's like almost no change in her, but for Light, it's like he's getting high or something. He's like,
So, before I get further, there was like a little detail that I left out, which isn't that important because it doesn't really... I mean, it progresses the story, but it doesn't really progress the story, but it explains why the story gets to progress. When Misa finds out that this guy fucking loves her and he wants to fuck the shit out of her, and she is like, I'm gonna go on a date and I'm gonna pretend that I'm Kira, or I'm gonna show him that I'm Kira, because her ex Shinigami Ren got like a little piece of the notebook and touched it to her, and she was like, hey, don't scream. Do you remember being who you are now? All right. Well, do whatever Light tells you to do. And then she's just like, okay, well, I'm going to pretend to be, this person. And I'm going to use Rem to kill people. Which brings up a question as to if, like, Rem didn't write a name to save the life of somebody, but she used it in order to benefit Misa. Wouldn't that also have killed her? Because she's interrupting the death of somebody?
I feel like it's more like if it's in defense of somebody that it would work.
All right.
It's like if it's in defense of somebody, then yeah. But like if you're killing for said person just to, whatever, then it's not going to do anything. Like it has to be like you did it with the intent of protecting them.
All right. Because rules. And
these rules.
So she uses Rem in order to pretend that she's the second Kira, even though she really is, but she isn't at this point because she doesn't really have the Death Note. But she basically tells him, all right, now I need proof for you. You need to prove that you're Death Note Man. And he's like, I can't be Death Note Man unless I'm home. And he's like, I'll fucking show no go. And he's like, no, I can prove it to you somehow. And she's like, okay, well, how about this? How about you don't kill until I tell you to kill again? And then he's like, okay, I can do that. And all the deaths stop for a while. So, that being said, we're back over here, Light screeching like crazy. And then he does his like signature little smirk, and he's like, I win. And then Mike's chorus starts singing in the background, and you find out that they wrote down like these fake rules at the back of the Death Note later on. But when Light has the Death Note in his hand, he remembers that he has this secret compartment in his watch where he keeps a little piece of the Death Note. And he writes down, like, Salaryman's name, and he fucking has a heart attack and dies right then and there. And then after seeing, like, while they're investigating the Death Note, they find these fake rules. And you see that one of the fake rules is, if no names are written in the Death Note after 13 days, the user will die. So they were like, oh, well, that guy hadn't killed for 13 days. That means he fucking died because he stopped. And Misa did it, yay, by pretending to be fake Kira. And also that if they burn or destroy the Death Note in any way, anybody that ever touched that Death Note would also die.
Yeah.
So, because of that, Misa and Light are no longer like being forced to be held captive, even though they couldn't be before because there was no real reason for him to hold them captive. But anyway, the L takes off their handcuffs and is just like, all right, well, I'm still going to be suspicious of you. I'm just not going to put you in handcuffs anymore. Since, you know, if you're Kira and we kept you in those cells for over a month, and if you were actually Kira, you would have died. And they were like, yeah, I know. I've never been Kira.
You know what's weird? From then on out, the Shinigamis don't like help anyone at all.
No, they're just kind of there.
Yeah, they're just kind of there, and like when they ask them something, they're like, "I don't know how it works. I don't know. You tell me." Like they weren't even helping at all.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly they were on no one's side, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then the crescendo of the show begins to build. And Light gives Misa the death note, and he says, "Kill for justice. Kill for me." And she's like, "Okay." She makes another eye deal with Ryuk and then halves her fucking life again so she can help Light. Because she was like, "Hey, write L's name in this fucking notebook. Because you saw it before. You remember, right?" And she's like, "Oh, fuck. I can't remember his name because I've seen so many names."
That was a year ago. Leave it alone.
So she couldn't kill him, and basically Light uses her continuing to kill as Kira to try and get her caught. Because around this time, they reveal that if L were to capture Kira, they'd probably like kill her, execute her, or something. Who knows? I don't remember. And Rem's like, "Ah, fuck. I can't let them catch Kira because Kira's Misa. So in order for me to save Misa, I have to kill L. Oh no! And if I kill L to save Misa, I'm not gonna be able to kill Light. Like I told him, because I told him if he hurts Misa, I'll fucking kill him. Oh, he thinks I'm gonna do it. He thinks I'm gonna kill him." And then you get this scene where L's at the top of a building in the rain, and he's like getting soaked, and Light's like, "Why are you up here?" And L puts his hand to his ear, and Light's like, "Why are you up here?" And then L like leans over and puts his hand like in his ear again. And then he gets over there, and Light asks him, "Why are you up here?" And L's like, "I've been hearing these bells all day. You know, I wonder if it's a church or a wedding or a..." And then Light cuts him off, but you can assume that it's like he's gonna say funeral next. And like there's all this symbolism and there's all this bullshit going on. And like L asks Light if he's ever told the truth since the day he was born and this and that. And then you get to the super like blatant, or it might just be blatant to me because I grew up in a Catholic household.
Yeah.
But the blatant symbolism of Light washing, or L washing the feet of Light, and I was like, man, are they implying that L is Jesus? Because that's what they're implying. L is Jesus.
He died as a martyr.
L is Jesus, and Light is Judas, and he's about to betray L, and all this like super symbolism like right in your face, and you're just like, oh well, I wonder when L's gonna die. Turns out it was that same episode. Because
oh, look, L's gonna die.
Because they like all of a sudden just go back inside, and then like L's old man dies that's been helping him this entire time. I don't even remember his name. I just know that
Watari?
Is it Watari?
Yeah.
All right. So L's old man dies. And then he presses a button that's in the back of the keyboard, and it deletes all the data that they've compiled. And I was like, oh no! I told Watari that if he's ever like something ever happens to him, to delete all the data. And then L dies.
Yeah.
And he just slumps over, and Light's just like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, and then it just goes nosedive from there.
Hmm?
and then just goes from a nosedive from there.
Yeah,
yeah, it should have really stopped when before the time skip.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a time skip, it's usually not something great. Or they maybe could have like fleshed out this other thing, but then again, it was already written in the manga, and because I haven't read the manga, I don't know how good it actually is, in that form, or if it's exactly the same.
True.
Yeah. But before we move on to the time skip, I want to point out the other blatant symbolism of Light standing on the rooftop of a skyscraper with a music stand and the Death Note on the music stand, and he's composing his new world and writing a bunch of names, and there's a little name montage going on. Yeah.
Symbolism.
The end.
If only. Let's see. Find out slowly. Everyone starts accepting Kira, what he does, and supports it mostly. Shows you advantages there, but no. You see a timer. Oh, you see a timer going down, and an old man receives a text on his phone saying that L is dead, and you see 2 young boys in front of him. And it turns out that these 2 young boys were L's successor. Basically, one's L with white hair, and one's Light with stupid hair.
That's God, I fucking hated Mello.
Mellow yellow.
Mellow yellow.
Mellow was shit is what he was. Like, he had nothing to him other than I like chocolate and I'm autistic. That was like his whole stick. Like,
yeah.
He's also
I fucking hated Mello.
He's evil though, and will do whatever it takes to get Kira. No.
Yeah,
there's
but
to him.
Yeah, there's nothing to him. He's not even smart.
No, I mean, he's smarter than no, he's not.
Smarter than the average bear?
Dude, he's smarter than me, probably. He
Probably,
was able to get
I mean,
the mafia.
Probably. I mean, fucking the original L was able to figure out like the dynamics of fucking supernatural forces through guessing.
So I'm gonna try and summarize this as quick as I can because I didn't write a lot of notes for this. I just watched it angrily and was like, "This is okay," but I'm just.
This is fine. This is fine.
This is fine. It's not bad.
You're in denial.
So 5 years pass, and Light's the new L, and they're still trying to catch Kira for some reason. And then the U.S. is like, hey, we're going to make our own task force to catch Kira because we're America. And they're like, but why? And they're like, because you guys are useless. And they're like, okay.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw.
Well, all right then.
So then they kidnap the head of the NPA of Japan, and Light kills them. And then they kidnap Light's sister, and he's like, ah, fuck. And then there's a point where Light like talks out loud to himself, and I was like, that's uncharacteristic of Light, especially since like he's living with Misa. And they didn't imply that they wanted Misa to hear this. It's just something that Light said out loud for some fucking reason, even though he never usually says it out loud. When he's in the restroom, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I might have to kill my
sister. And then, like, Misa hears this, but, like, nothing comes of it. It didn't matter that she heard it.
Nothing happens.
Why didn't he just say it in his head like he'd been doing it this entire time? But, whatever.
Because, they had to advance the plot and they didn't know what else to do. I don't fucking know, dude.
So then
the quality dropped after the time skip. Dude.
They kidnapped the daughter. They traded the notebook for the daughter, and then the daughter's traumatized. And then Light devises a plan where he gives his death note to the police, but it's not actually the real death note, because it turns out that whenever Rem died, he picked up Rem's death note because she didn't use it anymore. She didn't need it anymore.
She's dead.
Yeah. So then he's like, all right, I'm going to give you this death note. And in here, I wrote the names of the mafia people that this guy is using that kidnapped, this guy's daughter and this guy's sister or whatever. and you have until exactly this time, because at exactly that time they're gonna fucking die, and you guys are gonna go in and capture them. And they're like, but how are we gonna know if they actually die? And then somebody is like, well, isn't it obvious? One of us has to make a deal and get the Shinigami eyes. That way, as soon as they die, if we're looking at pictures of them, their lifespans just disappear in front of us, and that's when we go. And Lightstad is like, I'll be the one that does it. And everyone's like, okay, cool. So they go, they do the thing, and the plan was for Lightstad to write down the guy's actual name and kill him, to write down Mendel's actual name and kill him, because, he has the Shinigami eyes, and he could just see, and he could just kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen. They go in. He's looking at the pictures. Their lifespans die. They go in. They go in and they go in, and he gets away. So it was all for nothing. And Light's dad is dying, and Light's trying to tell him, Dad, with your last bit of strength, write down that fucking guy's name. Don't let him win. And Light's dad's like, that guy Ryuk told me that I can't see a other Death Note people's user. And I'm so glad, because I can see your name and your lifespan. And he's like, of course you can. I'm not Kira. Because at this point, he relinquished the Death Note again and gave it to his dad. But if you have a little piece of the Death Note on you, or a piece of paper or something of the Death Note on you, you could still keep your memories of what's happening even though you don't use it. So he just has his memories, but he's not really using it. So Light's dad dies, and you're like, oh well, this could have been a little. This is sad, but it's not. It could have been a little bit sadder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There goes a good character.
He goes a good character.
I love Matsuda.
Then Light tells Ryuk, hey Ryuk, go give my Death Note to some other guy and have him do my bidding, so we can try and catch him, and I'm not gonna lose my memories again because I'm gonna have this piece of Death Note. And then he's like, cool. And then the best gif of the entire show happens because of this. And you get this guy writing down Death Note names, and there's basically it's like it switched to a shonen. Yeah. To make a long story that shouldn't have lasted another 10 episodes short, Light dies.
Yeah.
Because
Light laughs. I did laugh because it was the most ridiculous fucking death ever.
Like a little bitch.
Like a little bitch. So it turns out that Nier was tailing the other guy, and he used they put fake pages in the Death Note, but Light had told the guy that they were gonna do this, and to make a fake Death Note so they could put the fake pages in the fake Death Note. But then one day he fucks up because some person that they were using to communicate as their spokesperson on the TV and shit got kidnapped by Mello and ended up killing Mello or whatever. He just dies. You don't even have to worry about that. And then when she got kidnapped, the guy was like, I'm gonna go to the bank. And he goes to the bank, and it turns out that's where he was keeping the real Death Note in a lockbox. And the guy that was helping Nier picked the lock on that, and he was like, it was super easy. Then I put the fake pages in that Death Note, and that guy didn't even notice. So they were they had the Japanese task force and Nier's task force meet, and Light had told that guy, hey, come over here and kill everybody. And he did it, and he was like, delete. If you watch wrestling, he was like broken Matt Hardy and just wanting to delete everybody. And nobody dies. And then Nier's like, I knew you would do this, or if you were Broken Matt Hardy, he'd be like, "I knew you would come," and he's just he grabs the Death Note and he's like, "We knew you had a fake Death Note, and we put the fake pages in the fake Death Note, and we put fake pages in the real Death Note too, because we saw that guy go to the bank, and he fucked up everything for you." And then Light starts like screeching, and he starts being stupid, and you're just like, "Ah, Light, this isn't how I wanted you to end. But I guess if you're gonna be fucking stupid, you can be stupid." And he runs away and dies in the staircase and like in a T-pose because he glitched out. And Ryuk's like, I told him I was gonna write his name in the Death Note the second that I met him.
But you didn't believe me?
He didn't believe me.
He didn't. He kept thinking it was a joke. He's like, nah, dude, he's gonna fucking, I'll deal with him later.
He's like, nah, shut up, baby. You love me.
Basically, he's like, he'll fall in love with me and we'll be best friends forever.
Fucking make a sitcom later about Ryuk and Light.
Dude, I love that because Ryuk was he was inarguably the best girl of this show.
Ryuk was
the best. I fucking love Ryuk so much. Like when he's locked up with Light in the cell, he's just like, man, I want apples. He's like, where are the apples, Light? I can't get apples when I'm in here.
Where are the apples, man? Where you keep them apples, dog? So yeah, that's Death Note. Like on this video that I was watching earlier, apparently the creator of Death Note said that Misa probably dies in Valentine's Day 2011, probably because she committed suicide because she found out that Light dies or something like that. And apparently the only reason that they made Misa was so there wouldn't be so much man meat around. like the reason that she was created was because they were like, there are too many dudes, let's put a chick in here.
Didn't want to make Light look too gay for L.
Not too gay.
I mean, they did look pretty gay. I mean, L was pretty gay in himself, where he's like, you're my only friend.
Yeah.
I fucking love you. But I know you killed those fucking people.
So I know you're not really my friend, but I'm gonna tell you you're my friend because I'm smart, and you're not really my friend, but you are my friend.
That was the thing. He's like, you're not my friend, but you really are my only friend. But I know you did that bad shit, but you're my friend. But I know you're not really my friend, but I wish you were my friend. So we're going to keep pretending that we're friends.
Because I like pretending.
He
likes pretending because he's very alone.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I liked L's voice in the English dub. He was the best voice actor.
Now,
L's voice had a good voice actor.
L's voice sounded fucking fantastic, but it didn't suit his body. Not
all
one
deep
bit.
and shit.
Like he had a really good voice, but it didn't make sense for his body.
Yeah.
But I really like that voice.
That voice, like it put the character. On the other hand, Light's voice actor.
He had such a dead delivery. Like he had no delivery on it. Like there was no emotion, and like he was just like reading lines from a script. Like that was pretty much it.
Like,
and the laughing.
Yeah,
I didn't get to hear the laughing. I tried giving it a chance early on with Mike when we were watching it together. And then again by myself, I was like, "Oh, well, this is a recap episode. I'm just going to put it in English and see like if it gets better or not," and it didn't.
Wait, so did you guys watch it in English or in Japanese?
I watched it in Japanese. In Spanish.
Yeah, in Spanish.
I watched it in Japanese. Juan watched it in English, and I think Mike watched it in Japanese too.
Japanese.
Yeah, the Nipponese too. So how was it watching it for a sec? Wait, who watched it before? It was just Mike, right?
Yeah, probably. I think so.
Mando, had you seen it before?
Nope. This is actually one of those shows that I had heard a lot about, and I don't know. To me, I kind of put it like on the same tier as like fucking Naruto and Bleach. And I was just like, it's one of those shows that everybody likes, but it's probably gonna be pretty bad.
As far as entry level, yeah.
And so I had to put it off just because, I hadn't really found the reason to watch it or really cared to watch it. The concept sounded interesting, but it was just, I felt like I was going to be disappointed by it in the end, and in the end, I was.
In the end, you were.
For me, my introduction to it was a long time ago when the mangas were first coming out.
In a galaxy far, far away.
In a galaxy far, far away. My weeaboo uncle, may he rest in peace, was he had the mangas out, and I remember I wanted to read them, and he's like, "No, you can't. Like, that's not for fucking kids." I was like 12 or 13 at the time. He's like, "You can't do that shit." And I was like, okay. And eventually it started coming out in Shonen Jump, which I had already been subscribed to. So I was just reading it there. And he's like, you know what, whatever, do your own fucking thing.
It's for kids.
And
it's
so
okay. It's
I started reading it there, but then I didn't really keep up with it. So I left it at that. And then I wound up seeing it on Adult Swim.
So I wasn't watching it for a second time, kind of, Mike. Kind of.
It was, I mean, like I had lost a lot of memory of like the plot points and stuff. Like I knew that something was going to happen, but I forgot all the steps that it took to get there. And so like rewatching it, I was like, oh, okay, so that's how that happened. And then I'm like, wow, this is a lot more convoluted now that I'm going back onto it. Because like before I would be like, oh, I don't really understand it, but it seems like it makes perfect sense because they're explaining it all to me when I was younger. But now that I paid more attention and I could see it whenever, I was like, the fuck? Like this shouldn't be possible in many cases. I mean, setting aside the supernatural theme, like
a lot of the story happened by chance.
Yeah, like everything kept happening by luck, and then both of the characters kept going like, "Oh yes, I planned this all along," and I was like, "No, you fucking didn't."
All according to plan.
Yeah, they'd be like, all according to plan. The fucking 0.03% chance that this would happen at this specific time, at this specific date, and I planned it all along.
All along.
Jesus, if this would happen in real life, it would be a mess.
Yeah.
I hope that's what happens in the.
And I'd like to say people wouldn't be as stupid as they were in this, but they'd probably be just as stupid in this. Like, I've come to understand that.
We'll see in the Netflix movie.
Yeah, we'll see.
Everything happens by chance as well. In the Netflix.
It's even more RNG. Kira just happened to be in the right place at the right time one day when he suddenly found the Death Note. But I really do like who's casted as Ryuk.
Yeah, William Dafoe.
William Dafoe, dude, I fucking love that guy, dude. I like have an unrealistic enjoyment of that man, like
unrealistic enjoyment.
I shouldn't like him as much as I do for the stupid shit that he does, but he just it's so entertaining.
Maybe that's why he was casted as Ryuk.
Because he's so entertaining.
He can do the voice of
this world like Yagami.
Exactly. They're just gonna do a Green Goblin costume on him.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
They're gonna get a Green Goblin costume and spray paint it black, and then throw some feathers on it. Be like, bam! You're fucking Ryu. All right.
So I really enjoyed whenever like a tense moment happened in the anime. I really liked the animation that they did, where it was essentially like shaky cam shit.
Oh.
Yeah. Like all the like when they drew speed lines on there for some reason, and when they over animated the writing names and shit, I was like, man, it's so fucking stupid. I love it.
All the budget went into
writing names. And to the point where I was watching some of it at a friend's house whenever our friend Danny came down to visit, and he was around this time he was playing Zelda on the Wii U because he doesn't have a Switch. He was playing Breath of the Wild, and he was just sitting. Like, I got there and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Danny?" And he was like, "Oh, nothing much, just waiting for a dragon, Noonie." And he was just standing at the top of a fucking mountain waiting for a dragon. And he was doing that for about an hour because I went into Gabriel's room, we talked, he was playing like Nier Automata and I was watching him play. And we're like, hey, we're pretty hungry, and Danny's like, but I gotta wait for the dragon. And he he was pretty hell bent on getting this fucking dragon to appear. But then when we mentioned food, he was like, "Okay, I guess I'll stop." And he paused the game, and we left, and we came back, and I told him that I was watching Death Note, and he was like, "Oh, let's watch like an episode or two." And I told him I was on like episode 6 or 7 or something like that, or I forget where he started. And he just kept like, we would start an episode and we'd stop it, and then he was like, "All right, well let's play another one." And then he just kept saying, "Let's play another one, let's play another one," until we were like, I want to say 5 episodes in, and it turns out he just kept skipping and skipping until the potato chip scene happened, because all he wanted to see was a potato chip scene.
He really wanted to see that potato.
And when it came about, he was like, "All right, I'm gonna switch it to English now," because that's when it's at its best. and I wasn't disappointed. It delivered. It was as stupid as I thought it would be.
It was.
I'm gonna take this chip and eat it.
That's terrible.
What do you guys think of the music? Taking away the intro and the outros, just like the background music itself.
I love the Latin choruses.
Mm-hmm.
The background was dramatic. It fit the scenario.
I don't know. I thought maybe like the first time that like he wrote in the Death Note, it kind of made sense. But then they did it every time that he was doing it, and I was like, all right, I get it. He's
they did it for like pretty much any tense moment.
Yeah.
Or any time that he felt victorious in
after
some way.
a while,
Be like,
it seemed to like it seemed like they repeated it so much that it just kind of lost all meaning, and it was just it's there. And I know that this is dramatic because you're telling me that this is dramatic, but also because I'm watching the fucking show.
At first I really enjoyed the choruses and stuff also, but the one that stuck around with me was just that little piano thing whenever they were just like explaining stuff or like deducing something, and it was just like do 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 do. I can't replicate it.
I know what you're talking about.
They constantly played it also, but I was always like, man, I really love this.
Yeah, like I felt like there wasn't a lot of variety in the songs, like in the music and the BGM and everything, but it was good. It's just that there wasn't too much variety.
Yeah, there's a lot of basically remixes. One of my favorite remixes were like L's, I guess, Sweets remixes.
L's Sweets. Like the chocolates and the
music sweets.
How he ate was so fucking weird. Like
it was so awkward.
Yeah, like he would eat and then start fucking licking his fingers one by.
Oh, jeez.
They even explain why, but it's stupid.
It doesn't help. It's still like it was basically he was a lonely autistic child in Europe and was trained to be a genius.
So we're gonna make him black in the movie.
We're gonna make him black in the movie, and he's
gonna be one of those. He's gonna be one of those cool black French guys.
Yeah. It turns out that it's Billy.
He moonlights
as L when he's not a Power Ranger.
Fucking Light. Light still the character playing Light has that like punchable fucking face. So I was
it's exactly what Mike wants.
I was like, he's still got that punchable fucking face.
Did Madhouse do a good job, guys?
Animating or just overall?
Let's say overall.
I'd say they did a decent enough job. There wasn't really too much quality of note.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was alright.
Yeah, they did good.
Yeah.
When was this? When did this come out again?
2006.
2006. Yeah.
Yeah.
2006.
It's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty alright.
I didn't get to see it. I mean, all I saw was the Netflix quality stuff. So I mean, it's as good as it can get. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't
I
bad.
mean, it's better than me trying to watch it on Kiss with fucking UTSA's fucking shared internet, skipping through it and whatnot.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's that time. It's that time of the show where you get your sticker stars, and you fill in the little stars and you tell me what would you guys rate this.
Oh.
I'd give it a solid 7.
Wait,
out of
what are
5.
we doing out of 10s now? Oh,
7 out of 5, dude. Nah,
7 out of 5. Mike.
yeah, 7
No,
out
I
of
know,
5,
I know,
dude.
I know you
Fucking
love
amazing.
L, but I mean, come on, you gotta be realistic about this.
Look,
stuff.
dude, you can't just keep fucking
Can't
hounding
suppress your
me
love
for the fact that I would do the whole like putting my legs on the chair in high school thing.
I forgot, Mike. Mike would be one of those people that would put his his feet on his chair with his Naruto headband, just constantly saying
I did a lot
"Watashi
of stupid
Maikadesu,"
for because of anime.
eating his ramen
Like
noodles.
Like trying to make paper cranes with one hand. And,
Shut up.
I did a lot of shit that was like more subtle than normal. So like the only way for someone to have been able to tell would have if they were as retarded as I was.
Why is Mike screaming in the middle of the hallways, screaming, talking about his power level?
And the worst I did was I got a headband. And my brother bought a kunai, like a huge ass kunai, and I still maintain the fact that those look cool.
I'd like to say those were the worst things I did. However, back in, I don't know, I was about 20, so 4 years ago, I worked at a jail, right? And well, it was quiet all the time. And I was living in the city, and it was like the style of the jail was like it was like floors, so you went up an elevator and stuff. More often than not, I was in a unit that only required one officer instead of 2 people patrolling it. So I was there by myself. These guys are all locked in their cells. They don't go out at night. It was like 2 a.m. We weren't allowed to bring electronics with us, but it was really relaxed in that we had nobody checking us at the beginning because they didn't have anybody to do it because they were shitty. And so people would go in there with their phones, 3DSs and shit. Well, aside from just bringing my phone, I also brought a belt from Kamen Rider that I had with me. And so what happened was I was in the hallway that's like connected to where the elevators come in. And well, I didn't think anybody would be coming up. So like I put the belt on and like I was doing poses and shit like that, and I was doing call outs. And what the worst part of it was that like the elevator suddenly starts and I was like, it's not from my floor. It was from my floor. And so our captain comes out and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And I was like, dude, look, listen, captain. You don't understand.
Look at this belt.
I just played it out. He's like, you know what? I like you. I'm just gonna forget that this happened. I was like, thank you. Thank you.
And Mike continued to pose throughout the night.
And I never brought it up again. We just forgot about it. Nothing happened, and that was the end of the story.
And I think I also did the hand signs from Naruto when I was like 14. Right? I'll try.
I think the worst thing that I've done is pretend to be Keon with Nuni and playing Fuwa Time.
You were doing what?
That happened last week.
Wait, what were you doing?
You see, I was Mio.
Oh, you were pretending to be Keon.
Yeah.
And I was Yui, and Nuni was playing the bass, and I was playing the guitar, and we were playing Fuwa Time.
Yeah. Dude, it was the best.
Okay.
We're playing it on Rocksmith.
Let me tell you the things that I've done.
Oh,
Jesus. Shit.
Hold on.
I want to take some.
You want to stop this and then start another episode of Magical Bro Transformation?
No, I'll just say that my brother can tell you because
get him on the podcast. I want him to.
He constantly reminds me.
Dude, fuck! I'll message him on Facebook right now. Hey, Martin!
You don't even have him on Facebook.
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
That's weird.
What?
Dude, me and him are best bros.
That's weird.
Look, dude, I'm just saying.
He's got a pretty smoking bod. For Mando's taste. What would you do, Juan?
Well, to be honest, I don't remember. I guess because I blocked it out of my memory. But my brother will tell me like if like he would just tell me every once in a while. He's like, "Remember you done this?" I'm like, "Shut up." Just shut up.
Remember when you dyed your hair purple and pretended to be the ghost in the shell?
He liked the idea of me hacking into people because
hacking into people.
Yeah.
Hey man, I gotta tell you about this one dude. I really don't like him. You think you can do your thing?
You like that idea because he's like, one day if I ever go rogue, I'll just call you,
and I'll get you from stopping the hacking. I'll help you stop them from getting into my mainframe, man. I mean, when I was really small and I was watching Dragon Ball Z in Mexico, I used to try and do energy blasts. And there was one time when I had a dream that me and Piccolo were like in the placita, just like throwing energy beams, and I was like, man, this is great. You know, granted, I was like 7 or 8, so you know, I was really happy.
I mean, if we're going back that far, I used to try to fucking make kamehamehas too by sitting constantly alone with my hands together, trying to fucking force things other than farts out.
I would play with the other Mexican kids Dragon Ball, like doing kamehamehas.
No, Juan. Here, I actually thought I could do it. I
actually thought I could do it too.
Every kid thought.
But you know, I was like 5.
Oh, so you were younger than me. Fuck you, Mando.
I mean,
you were
somewhere around there. Fine, Nooney. It was last week when we were doing full foot.
We were doing full foot. So how many childish screeches would you give this show out of 5?
Solid 3.5.
I'll give it a 3.
But it lacks in story and competence. It makes up for in entertainment value.
Hell is the saving grace.
Had I finished watching this show, or like had the show ended a lot sooner and towards the middle of the series, I would have probably given it like a 4, maybe even a 5, because it was actually pretty decent up until that point. And then it just kind of started spiraling down, and now I give it a 3.
If it would have stopped at episode 26 like I wanted it, I would have given it like a solid 4. I would have forgiven the like little lolling area, and I would have been like, you know what, this is fine. But I'm just gonna give it a 3.5 because I finished it, and it made me finish it, and I didn't want to finish it. But you know, it's all right. Right? Yeah, I mean,
it's all right.
I had fun with it at times. Other times I was like, why does this need 3 episodes to solve?
In the second before the last episode, they spent 10 minutes explaining to you something that you had been following along the entire time that didn't need any explaining. It was horrible.
Yeah. They were trying to fill time.
They actually were just trying to fill time. They were like, all right, let me tell you exactly what happened that you saw, that I did because you saw it, but I'm going to tell you because, you know, we need one more episode for some reason. And 37 episodes is a weird number for...
It's a specific number.
Yeah, it's a pretty specific number for an anime. But yeah. So, it's that time, Mando.
Oh, what? All right.
Yeah.
It's the only reason that I'm ever on this shows.
Yes. I mean, we sent you out to fix a wheel. We told you can't be back on until you fix a wheel.
All right. Well, I am meeting you halfway, and I don't feel like getting the real wheel. Mm-hmm. So instead, I'm just going to use this makeshift wheel that I made out of birdseed and gum while we were talking.
Wow.
All right. So who's going to spin it?
Let's let Juan do it.
Yeah, let's let Juan do it.
Okay.
All right. First, you got to go like that, and then you just pretty much just pull that right there.
Like
see
this?
that right there?
Like,
no,
like this?
right. That look at me. You see that?
Okay.
Right, that right there.
This one.
So
yes.
Okay.
29 to 121.
I'm gonna spin it again.
Let Juan spin it again.
All right. Was I supposed to keep track of the numbers? Because I wasn't keeping track of the numbers.
21 to 29.
What was it? What did I say? I said 20 something. 29 to 121.
Oh, okay. 29 to 121.
All right. Spin it, Juan.
Woo! Oh, there you go.
I don't know how to feel about this because you guys might hate it, but I've been wanting to watch this show.
I have no idea what it is.
It's Shin Sekayori.
What?
It's Shin Sekayori.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
I love Shin Sekayori. That's actually one of my favorite anime.
Yeah. It's Shin Sekayori.
Fucking hate all of you.
Well, I mean, it's Shin Sekayori, Mando. I don't know.
Well, yes, Nini. Thank you for telling me what I so clearly saw come up on the wheel right now.
Obviously.
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite shows. It was actually recommended to me.
I can't wait to give it a 2.
It was recommended to me by our friend Jose, who watches a lot of shows.
I was actually watching it at the same time that they all were, and I was like, "This is The Giver, but different."
Oh,
yeah. He kind of like, I guess, realized what my taste in shows is, which is kind of the melodramatic bullshit. And
boy, was it filled with melodramatic bullshit.
And he recommended it to me, and I was like, well, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I sat through all of it, and I was like, holy shit, I fucking love this show. And then by the time I knew it, it was 4 a.m, and I had to go to school the next day, and so I just kept watching it.
And you didn't go to school
because fuck school. I probably didn't. I really don't remember, but
you probably didn't fuck school.
It's very feasible that I didn't go to school.
I mean, after living with you for a little bit, it doesn't take much to keep you from not going to school.
It's true.
All right, so the anime for the next episode is going to be Shin Sekayori, or From the New World. We'll see how we watch that. And if you want to contact us in any way, you can reach us on Facebook, facebook.com/MBT podcast. On the Twitters, we are at Magical Broadcast. The email is mbtpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.